Hello, welcome to the big show, guys. Man, it is Tuesday night. It's time for tactical trades. Am I flying solo today? I am. I'm flying solo. Tim he's continuing with this marathon meeting that he's got. He's been in a meeting for all day. I think they've taken breaks for lunch and for visitation. But other than that, he's been in a meeting, and it's been an all day thing. So Piper and I, we did the morning show this morning, and I'm going to be doing tactical trades. On tactical trades, you guys tell me, in today's case, what you want to see on the charts. So go ahead and give us a shout out of what ticker you want us to do some TA on. It's just going to be me today, guys. Piper's not joining. Tim's not joining. It's a T-Shroom takeover. And that also means that I'll probably be only going till about 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. So just be aware of that. So you want to get your tickers in quick. But we'll go ahead and go over to my charts just to kind of see what has been going on today and show you guys a little bit about what I'm seeing on the charts. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. Starting on the hourly, you can see that we tested down quite a ways down to 29,047. Goodness gracious, that is low. So going out and looking at the daily chart, let's see just how low that really got compared to some of the other lows we've had recently. So it didn't get anywhere near close to this 28,654, much less the 28,498 that we had back on the 1st of August. But guys, this is a new low. It's a new low from August 14th, from yesterday. We did go lower. We're going to talk a little bit later, probably wait till tomorrow to talk about the fundamentals of why we went lower. But as you can see here, we are seeing uptrending line of support here from Bitcoin. It's not a very hopeful one, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say that this is going to be one we want to put too much of our faith in quite yet. But it is an uptrending line support. We've got a higher high or a higher low, twice now. So that's something to bring us a little bit of optimism. But overall, we do have kind of zooming out. Probably go to a weekly chart for this. We have a much more convincing uptrending line of support here that's kind of having everybody scratching their heads. How much longer until we go back and tap this uptrending line of support? It's almost time for me to go ahead and extend this out. Maybe I won't do it on the weekly. It's probably not a good idea to do on the weekly. But as you can see, guys, we're due for a pullback. As you can see, it's tested this line once, twice, 3 times, and now the 4th time is more than likely coming in here. It's coming due, right? And it's going to be coming in somewhere around here. I think that there's a good argument that we only go as low as 28, right? And we only ever see 28,000 again for Bitcoin, and it just keeps going on and on and on forever. Unfortunately, though, there's probably going to be more downside, and probably is a strong word there. But there's some indications that there may be more downside for Bitcoin than just 28,000, which isn't what you want to hear, right? You want to hear something a lot more optimistic than that. But unfortunately, in this case, there's just probably more downside. So let's go ahead and drill on into the daily. Going back in there, let's look at some oscillators, and let's look at some of Chart Prime's indicators. But before we do that, let's go ahead and look at chat and see what are some of the tickers that are jumping out. So first of all, we got to cover who was first in the chat. And today that goes to ADA Ace. Bedwritten was 2 with the yellow badge. Super awesome. They're from Bedridden. We were talking earlier today at length about some trading lessons that Bedridden's been learning over there in Norway. And over in Bro Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also seeing May Bay Band-Aids. Maybe a Band-Aid is also in the chat today. Crypto Billy, big shout out to Crypto Billy. Saying, let's get it. Steels TV coming in strong. CBD Suddy, Ninja Glock, Pisces, and a few more there Military, crypto military vet also coming in the chat. Love it. CBD Suddy is calling out for ETH, also seeing KAS, KAS, and FUD. Just kidding. Actually, Posh is saying, what FUD? So he's not seeing the FUD that's out there just yet, which is interesting in and of itself, that some people are not feeling the fear from today. Well, I would say, so here's the thing, is like on the Bitcoin charts, the sell-off was really not that pronounced. But if you look at other charts like XRP, which we might take a look at today, and if you look at maybe some of these altcoins that have already been shouted out, you know, there's definitely some move to the downside, some FUD out there. Chaos Incorporated said 26,500 is the lowest BTC goes. 50% sure. So, you know, I think that that's a pretty reasonable price prediction to the downside there, Chaos Incorporated. You know, we have some arguments for a little lower than that, down to 25,000. And I was even talking to some people today in Bro Time that maybe 20,000 is in play, depending on a couple of different things. But we're not quite sure just yet. Posh is also screaming out for the fundamentals. No, please. Wants the fundamentals and wants them right now. Well, unfortunately, this show is Tactical Trades, where we just cover the charts. Maybe if we can get those likes up. If we can get those likes up to, we're 27 watching right now. If we can get those likes up to 75, then we'll get into some fundamental analysis, guys. And I will honor that, but I will also say we're probably only going to go to about 6:30 today. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's keep moving, guys, here. Let's keep moving. Let's get back onto the charts. Let's take a look at ETH. But before we take a look at ETH, KAS, and probably XRP, and then we'll go back to the chat. Before we do that, let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin a little deeper on the daily. Let's take a look at what some of the indicators are saying. So right off the rip, you're seeing green histograms from the MACD on Bitcoin's daily chart. You are seeing that those MACD lines, they were trending pretty well to the upside, showing some strong movement out of sell momentum after this bull cross, and making its way back up. But unfortunately, those lines have kind of curled a little bit, and that's kind of bearish for me. That's losing momentum. That these oscillators show momentum. MACD does that extremely well, and that is everything that you don't want to see in an asset that you are long on, is the curling of those lines, that blue line coming back over the orange line there. So, but taking a look at the MVP Prime Oscillator Pro, let's take a look and see what we might surmise from that. So you're seeing this oscillator narrow here. You're not seeing any kind of bottoming pattern, which is indicated by the green. So you're not seeing any bottoming at all, any bottoming indicator. So I would say, there's probably just more downside. There's a lot of argument for more downside here. You're also getting a prediction down here to 27,669. I'm not exactly sure how this one works, so I'm not going to try to unpack that too much. But the trend assistant here is still green, and as far as I know on the daily, it's still under a buy rating. So that is something to keep in mind. It's still bullish on the daily. Bitcoin is on Coinbase. So it's something to keep in mind there for sure. Under a buy rating. So, and I would imagine that as long as it stays above 28,100, which does keep us above this uptrending line of support, Bitcoin is still going to probably be green. Well, it's not going to be. It's the green trend assist is going to stay green, and the buy rating is more than likely going to remain. All right, so let's keep moving here. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Let's see if before I do that, let's see if anybody disagrees with me on anything I've said with Bitcoin. Might have some disagreement, so let's check into that before I get into ETH. Ninja Glock said X took off yesterday. Yes, X being US Steel. Is that a shout out? Because I will look at US Steel. I used to trade that. It was actually a very important lesson that I learned on US Steel, so we might have to get into that a little bit. CBD said, gosh, that's a really fly Gumble just saying Goomble. So he's referring to right here behind me, I've got a Goomble, which is an NFT that belongs to CBD Study. So these NFTs are free real estate for anybody who wants to put their NFTs right here. We've got Bedriddens right behind me right here. And we've got some Dogecoin, some Pepe, and even a $13 million banana installment that's right behind me in this gallery. And guys, make sure that you're sending me these NFTs because Amanda, my fiance, is extremely upset at how much money I spent on building this gallery behind us. I mean, our bedroom is like a quarter of the size of this gallery, and the gallery is just giant. So make sure you guys are sending me the NFTs, or else all of that space just went into oblivion. A mellow fellow says, I love how calm T-Shroom's voice is. You are welcome. You're welcome for that. And it's a good quote reading voice, I'd say. That's how it serves me over the years. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at ETH. It doesn't look like anybody's really disagreeing with my TA to pretty much any extent at all. So let's go ahead and dive right on into ETH. I'm going to start in the daily chart. And right off the bat, you're seeing definitely a lot of sideways movement. I think I saw that the Ethereum is in like the least volatility it's ever been historically. So it's kind of crazy. Let's take a look at the MACD. Yeah, so at the same time that those lines for the MACD on Bitcoin are starting to curl, Ethereum's are actually starting to cross. So showing some pretty bearishness right there. We were starting to get a little bit of good momentum there on the MACD histograms, although they decelerated here, accelerated, and then they fell off a cliff and have actually ticked red for today, and more than likely will close red for today. Still under a green trend assistant on Chart Prime for the daily, and under a buy rating as well. So even though the MACD may be telling a different story, the Chart Prime trend assistant on the daily chart is actually green. Going to take a sip here. Just wanted to warn you guys in case you were shocked and spooked by that sip. I wanted to let you know I was going to take it. All right. So yeah, I mean, I'd say that Ethereum's most likely going to either go down or sideways here, guys. It's not super big. Not super big brain requirement for that one. It's coming down below the equilibrium box here, and it rejected off of that once, twice, 3 times, almost 4 times there, you can see on the daily. And this was after it failed to get out of the equilibrium box. So again, not showing a lot of bullishness here, Ethereum. And you are getting lower lows. 3 in a row, lower lows, and then this was a higher low, so it could potentially, be signaling a little bit of a reversal of that. That would be a bullish indicator as of now. That would maybe have you thinking maybe this could make another run, get into that equilibrium range, and maybe even try to push through. But I would say, guys, with the overall momentum of the market, we're going to look at some other altcoins here. Kaspa, I believe, is next up. And we're going to see that just the overall sentiment is not very bullish right now. So let's zoom out to some higher time frames for Ethereum and see what we might be able to gather, see how the oscillators change, and see what we might be in store to take a look at here. Yeah, so pretty much same thing there on the MACD. You're seeing just continuing acceleration to the downside of the red histograms as they continue to pile on the momentum movement downward, right, or bearish. And then the MACD line's also coming down and pointing down, which is not the direction you want to see them pointing if you are long Ethereum. And I am. I have it staked. All right, take a look here actually at the Pro. There's a little bit, it's concerning, right? So it was blue, which is bullish, and then now it's flipped purple and almost flipped back blue on the weekly, but went back purple. So it kind of looks like intestines a little bit, which is cool. I like that a lot. Let's see what else there could be figured out here. Well, you can see how much further it is from the equilibrium box here on the monthly time scale. So that's definitely something to consider. There's a prediction here to the upside, actually, based on this this little contraption back here up to the red trend descendant, basically at 2,249. So it's something to potentially think about there. I wouldn't put all your eggs in that basket though, for sure. You are under a buy rating here on Ethereum on the weekly, but it is basically negated by that red trend assist that's been in place since the 2nd of May for Ethereum on the weekly chart. So not looking great there. Let's go ahead and switch back over to the chat, see what's being said, and then we will, I think the next up was Kaspa, so I'm not really sure. Let's go back and see. Oh, looks like there's been a lot of action in the chat, so let's go ahead and see. Not anywhere near 75 likes yet, so I guess you guys don't want to hear the fundamentals. That's okay. Cas, yeah, Crypto Billy shouting out Cas. It's not a chart that I really looked at in a while, so we will get to it though. And then X, yes. All right, so let's do that. Cas and X, but let's read some chat first. Bedridden said, facts, bro. Solid TA. Charts don't lie. They tell you what it is. I like it. Thank you, Crypto Billy. And a great Lolita rebirth, the left of you. Yes. So as you can see right here, the Lolita rebirth. Very excited about that one. I'm excited about all these NFTs. Look, do I own any of them? No. I don't own any NFTs in any of the projects, but our community, the Investing Bro community, does, right? And so that's why they're up here, because I want to support the community and support the NFT projects that they're a part of. Going to take a sip here, guys. Again, just going to warn you. Chaos Incorporated, making it happen down in the chat, giving me the easy layup. He's saying, can't believe I hadn't noticed the Discord yet. Looking forward to getting into this scene more with you all. And then there's a robotic arm flex and a party face. Guys, if you have not gone down into the description and seen the free Discord, what are you doing? I've got it pulled up right here. You can see Investing Bros Twitter, formerly Twitter, now x.com. And then Tim's, and then Army's and mine. But you, right above all that, you've got a free Discord link right there. It's going to take you right to Discord. I can hear people clicking on it right now, which is pretty cool. Maybe you can hear that. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get into Kaspa. Guys here, guys. Guys here, guys. Let's jump on into that. Let's look at it on Qcoin. That sounds pretty good. Kaspa to Tether on Qcoin. Not a ton of data here. Let me know if there's a better exchange to take a look at it on. Let me see if I can find a better one. Let's see. Well, maybe if we type in crypto, there would be some better results here. Man, I'm getting a ton of Discord notifications. How about we silence that? Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, okay. All right, Cast USD spot BitGet. That sounds good. Also got a BitGet link down in there. This is the weekly chart for Cas. Got a link for BitGet in the description, guys, if you want a great exchange. BitGet is your exchange, but when you support the channel, which you want to do, you can do that by clicking that BitGet link, and it supports the channel. All right, taking a look here, you can see not much. So let's get out of the weekly and go down to the daily at least, but I'm guessing there's probably not a ton of data there either. Let's let these go ahead and load our indicators from Chart Prime. You can see right off the bat, MACD's not telling you anything too good quite yet. It's kind of saying, hey, beware. There's momentum building to the downside. That's what I'm seeing right off the rip. It doesn't look like there's enough data really for my indicators to be able to do too much here quite yet, and that's going to be the same for the oscillator. So let's go ahead and go down to the 4-hour. Again, feel free to shout out. Okay, yeah, we got a lot more data here. Feel free to shout out other exchanges, and I will go check and see if they are better. All right, taking a look here, you can see first thing that's bouncing out is that it's bounced off the equilibrium box here from Chart Prime. Not exactly. It looks like there maybe been some line of support just above that at 37 cents, but right at 37.4. I'm sorry, 37.8067. But at and this is not 37, 0.037, so 3 cents. You can see it was a pretty clear bounce. So what does that mean? Does this mean you should buy it? No, I wouldn't say so, because look what's happening here is now it's just forming a new range between where it broke out here at 0.0432. It broke out to the downside of this wedge, and now it's found some support here, which is good, and it was able to bounce off. But I would say that this is more than likely just going to come up. Here, I'll draw it out. Draw it out for you guys here, if I can find the right tool. There it is. It's there all along. And so there's a continuing of that line. It's probably just going to come up, bounce off of that. It's also going to coincide with the sell rating that it's under and the red trend assist, and then come back to the downside. Whether or not it bounces again, I don't know. But my guess is that it probably doesn't, based on what's happening in the macro. Now, I'm seeing some stuff that may be able to negate that bearish prediction, because you are seeing a bull cross on the MACD on the 4 hour, though. So keep in mind, it is the 4 hour. So you are seeing those red histograms decelerate, meaning you're losing bearish momentum, and that's reflected here in these two pretty big candles to the upside. Just recently here on the 4 hour, you did see a 10% move to the upside. Okay, so this is swinging pretty volatile. So if you'd gotten a position in there at that bounce, you would have done pretty well, especially if you were doing some leverage. But I mean, okay, so this is a good lesson, because you wouldn't have taken the trade here. You wouldn't have gone long here. That would have not been great unless you sold the same candlestick. But what you could have done is waited for that to confirm that it was not going to go any lower than where that wicked. It confirmed that once, twice, and then 3 times. And right here, you could have taken a nice position, and you wouldn't have lost money if you took a long position here or here waiting for that either. So that's one way to look at these markets. At this point, at 10%, if you were to get that perfect entry, which of course you're probably not going to get that perfect entry, at 11.2% to the upside, I'm probably taking profits, guys. So Billy, if that's why you wanted some TA on this, that's kind of what I would say, is probably go ahead and take some profits, because you're just going to get rejected just a little bit further. And when do you sell? You sell into strength, not financial advice. Taking a look down here, you can see on the Pro oscillator, you can see that there are some bottoming signals there on the 4 hour. You are seeing a very bullish curve, a bullish swing. What happens when it curves like this? Well, you can see the momentum shifts back to the upside and turns blue. Now, it didn't turn blue and stay blue, unfortunately, for CAS. Right, as you can see, there was some movement to the upside here when it turned blue, but then it promptly reversed course and started to come all the way back down. So buying here really did not yield all that much positivity, unfortunately, for those who were trading solely on the buy indicator at the 4 hour, but that's what you get for doing that. Now, here's a lesson. This was a great time to go ahead and listen to the indicator. This was not, because it was the buy signal here on the 4 hour was negated by the red trend assist. So you want to use the confluence of those two indicators, which is in the same indicator pack for a reason, on the market Oracle Pro from Chart Prime. You want to use that in tandem, in confluence, to make sure you're making the best trade you can. Here, you had them synced up, right? And that's more than likely why you got this green dot, a little candy on the screen, is that you've got the red trend assist, and then you also got the sell rating, right? So boom, you enter a trade, and now all of a sudden you're probably around 11% to the downside if you time it right. And again, you'd have to be able to short that, and more than likely BitGet is going to be your exchange to be able to short a name like CAS, which doesn't have anywhere near the liquidity as Ethereum or Bitcoin. Now, guys, we're in for a treat, because we're going to go down a memory lane here with T-Shroom, me, after I take a sip, into one of the stocks that I actually learned a very valuable lesson in, and that is X, which is the United States Steel Corporation. I'm going to jump over to that screen in just a second, and it's going to be a lot of fun to go down to memory lane. I'm going to look at it really quickly, though, to see Yes, I do have some drawings on this one, so that's pretty funny. Very cool. All right, so we'll get to that in just a second. But let's go ahead and look at chat and see what has been crack-a-lackin' over there in chat. Bedridden has put a link to the Discord. Man, you guys are really just helping me out today. I love it. Crypto Billy said, I've made big Gita trading Cas. I think you meant Cheta, or maybe I'm just out of the loop. Big Geta. I like both of those. Lifer got me on it. He made 10K trading it. I don't own now. Sold it off, but it's starting to look good again. Just my opinion. Right. So, I mean, it did look good just a little while ago. If you'd bought down there at 0.374, I think it was, you would have made a nice little move to the upside. But I'd say with what's going on in the macro, unless you know something I don't, which is that Cas does not move with Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would definitely be a little bit weary, right? Now, it just depends what kind of trade scale you want to do too. If you're on the 1 hour, then what I just said, all the TA that I just did is probably somewhat irrelevant. Although I would say you probably are going to see more potential to the downside after that 11% run on Cas. So that's just my input on their crypto Billy, but Crypto Lifer could absolutely be seeing something that I'm not. Crypto Billy said, great TA, bro. You confirming my thesis. Thank you. Yeah, excellent. So it sounds like he's kind of in agreement that maybe that Cas has run its course here to the upside. But look, a coin like Cas is an excellent coin to kind of camp out on and just learn it, see what the whales like to do in that space, and then just wait. And just wait till it sets up exactly how you want it to set up. And the whole time, be okay with the fact that it may never do that, right? And that's why you track multiple coins, right? A Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, a couple of them, right? Not just the one. And then maybe a Band-Aid said, confirm your bias, Crypto Billy. So maybe a Band-Aid hopping on you, getting on you. But here's the thing with the bias, right? Have a bias, but be aware of it. Because you're going to have one. You're always going to have one. Even if you are just completely maxed out to the extreme, you've fully integrated AI into your cerebral cortex, you're still going to have a bias. And I know for a fact that nobody in the chat has been able to integrate AI into their cerebral cortex. I guess I don't know that for a fact, so I take that back. But c'est la vie. Let's go ahead. It looks like the chat is doing really good, and so let's go ahead and jump back into the charts. And yes, what is up next is U.S. Steel. And I'm going to zoom out super, super far on this one to start off with. You guys thought I wasn't going to go back to the chart. Well, I did. Take a look here. For the most part, this has actually traded somewhat sideways going back to 1992. Man, if I put a regression line, I bet it would be actually kind of funny. Let's take a look really quick at what that would look like. For those of you who don't know what a regression line is and you're a noob, you have come to the right place because a regression line basically draws some lines for you. In this case, it's not all that helpful at all, but I was interested to see just how close it would come. But so if you just draw it like in a more reasonable place where there isn't a spike, then you can actually get some helpful information, which is where the top and the bottoms are going to be. This is a great tool for someone who's just starting out because it'll help you identify lines of support and lines of resistance that are drawn up by peaks and valleys. So you can see here, right now, this would actually not be a bad time to go ahead and enter a short on steel. Now, you'd want to be careful with that because you'd want to know why it's had this sudden move to the upside. And I would also be careful with it because this uptrend right here, this subtrend within the trend, is actually looking pretty bullish. And again, guys, keep in mind, we're on the monthly chart here. So this is not a trade, right? This would be quite a swing of a trade if you're trading anything based on this chart, which I wouldn't recommend because you're going to be sitting in it for a long time and you may not have the patience if you're a beginner. Doesn't mean you shouldn't build up the patience. You absolutely should. But you got to be aware of the tools you're working with. I have this green line. I'm kind of curious how long I drew this ago. It actually looks completely useless. So that is a good segue. I'm going to delete it. That's a good segue. This one's a little more useful, this one here. I don't know when I drew those lines, but that's a good segue into the story. Okay. So I don't know exactly when I bought steel, or why I do remember why I bought it. It's because I was in college. In college, it would have been 2018 is when I graduated, and so let's say I feel like I probably entered it around here. So let's say I bought, and that makes sense. I bought U.S. Steel around $36 per share. Now U.S. Steel, they make steel, right? I think there's only 3 companies. There's U.S. Steel, and then there's like Clifford Hills or something like that, and those 2 companies are very big. And then whatever the company is that is making or run it, U.S. Steel X. But anyway, as you can see here, I bought it and immediately it went down. And it went down for multiple years. And it actually did not come back up to 36 until right here. And it peaked up into it. As you can see, it peaked up out of that regression trend. And that's when I sold. And I held all through here. And I was down. Let's see, if I bought at 36, I was down 83%, guys. 83%. So now you enter Bitcoin, and I don't talk about this very much. So you guys in the chat right now, you're going to get some info. I bought Bitcoin at 69,000, right? And I actually bought quite a bit of it just below that. I bought it quite a bit at like 55,000 on the way back down in 2022. Now, why did I do that? 2021, I believe it was. Why did I do that? I did that because I just started working at a YouTube crypto channel called Crypto Jeb. And I was coming in at the beginning. I had bought Bitcoin before, but I had never really looked into it too much. I got hired at that company, and man, I was drinking the hopium left. I was drinking it right. And at the end of the day, I was just extremely excited. And there was plenty of really smart analysis out there that was saying, hey, Bitcoin's going to 100,000. And it was only, at $55,000, $60,000. So I was like, man, I'm going to go ahead and put some serious money in this. And I did. And I kept holding and I kept holding. And then I learned about something called DCA, and I kept DCAing and DCAing. And I DCA'd all the way back to 30,000 where I am now, where I broke even, right? So right now, actually, where Bitcoin is where I've broken even after buying it at the top and DCAing all the way down. I did the same thing with US Steel, and I think I actually made a profit on US Steel. So there you go. That's the story of me and US Steel. Now you guys didn't put Steel in the chat just to get a backstory. You probably are thinking about what the heck is going on with it. Well, there was some fundamental news on it. Let me see if I can get that news. It was something along the lines of the buyout, which is kind of straightforward. Let's see, which one is news? Not sure here, guys. But yeah, I think there was a buyout. Let's just see. Now that's going to come up with Twitter. Yeah. Takeover intensifies. U.S. strike irons hot. Cleveland Cliffs. Yeah. So a takeover bid by its competitor Cleveland Cliffs, which I guess now has the liquidity to be able to buy it. The stock has soared when another player threw its hat in the ring. Sickwick Eastmark, a quiet conglomerate led by steel industry veteran James Bucard. Okay, so Cleveland Cliffs and this other company looks like they're going in to try and take over U.S. Steel, which I believe is a multi-billion-dollar, like I want to say, like the tens of billions. I don't think it's in the hundreds of billions. But let's keep moving. So on a daily chart, let's take a look at U.S. Steel. Yeah, you had a nice little gap up here on this news. All the way on up. It wicked up as much as 42% and closed that candle on the daily at 35%. So pretty nice move. It's since then had a red candle, so it's moved back down, had a little bit of a retrace, but honestly, it looks like it's getting a nice little price to the upside here at 33%, and that is holding. Does that put it? It does not put it at anywhere near an all-time high, but it does put it slightly higher. The wick slightly higher than the highs from March of this year, but lower than the highs from April of last year. In comparison, I mean, the MACD lines haven't really, I mean, they got rocked obviously to the upside, but they haven't really reached even one on the MACD. So I'd say that this guy has much more room to run if the deal goes through. Because I think right now it doesn't look like the news is reporting that there's any kind of deal happening yet. It's a talks. Anytime you're seeing talks, that means that that it hasn't happened yet. So there's still probably some move to the upside to happen for steel, but it's going to happen after a reload. All right. You had some strong bottoming movement here on the Prime Oscillator Pro VIP coming in and showing you that. So, I mean, this is bullish from a fundamental standpoint. I don't know if it's going to get much more repriced to the upside, and a lot of why I don't know that is because I don't track the steel industry very closely. So here's where I'll back up and say it's nice if you got in this. I highly doubt you did, but it's nice if you were to buy steel before it had this nice pop. But here's why you didn't, and here's why you shouldn't feel bad about that. Is because you can't be everywhere all at once, right? You just can't. H-bar had a crazy day yesterday. Did you know about it? Did you take advantage of it? You probably did if H-bar was in your hodl bags, but more than likely you were not sitting there looking at the trade patterns for every single top 200 crypto and thinking to yourself, hey, these are the top 3 that I want to enter a trade in today, and then H-bar was one of them, right? And certainly not the case of all the stocks and all of the crypto. Like that's why there are hedge funds, because they hire people to do exactly that. You clock in, you've got your 3 assets that you're looking at that day, or 20 assets, however they've organized it. You make the decision if you're going to up or down it, if you're going to sell it or short it. And then, because of the system, the proprietary system that those hedge funds have worked at and drilled down on, they're profitable, right? Because they have a whole team working. You have to figure out what you want to trade, right? And that's why CAS was one that really jumped out to me, because it looks like that one's somewhat predictable. I'm not saying it is, but it looked like to me, just off the one snapshot of looking at it, that is somewhat predictable. Bitcoin, Ethereum are extremely popular to trade, short and long, because they are much more predictable on average than some of these smaller altcoins. Now, taking a look at steel is interesting, right? It's interesting to know things about how the steel industry works. Oh, there's a buyout coming. Oh, what does that mean for the price of steel? That's a whole nother thing, right? Probably it goes down because they've centralized manufacturing. Could go up, though, because now you have a more monopolistic industry that can have more price controls, right? So there's a lot of interesting things you can surmise from this headline, right? But should you conclude that you should start getting into steel investing and steel trading? Probably not, right? That's the mistake that I made in getting into steel in the first place, right? I don't think it's terrible to invest in steel if you think that U.S. Steel as a company is going to be more profitable in the next 5 years. That could be a sound investment. I personally don't think it is. Looking at it on the monthly chart, again, we saw what? It's mostly flat over since 1992. You can see, yes, it had a pretty big spike here, but for the most part, it's kind of flat, range bound between about $44 per share and $8 per share. So it could be very tradable if you're buying it down here in the 6s, right? And then selling up in the 40s, hey, that's great. But it's not super common that it's down there, so load up while you can. But the thing is like, you don't even know, even with that simple thesis that I just painted out there, yeah, there's a lot of upside to that trading strategy, but you don't know what the heck is going on in the steel industry, and you have to be honest with yourself about that. And maybe you do. Maybe you have a dad or an uncle, or maybe you work in steel and you actually do know a thing or two about steel. Then you should be trading steel, right? And steel companies in this case, because you have an edge on the information. But if you're listening to the sound of my voice, that more than likely means that you're spending a lot of time in crypto, right? And you know probably about how blockchains work way more than the guys in the steel industry do. And certainly way more than the guys who are paid to sit there and trade steel company shares know about crypto. So I can summarize all this by saying, stay in your lane, right? There's certain instances where we're trading U.S. Steel, trading Walmart shares, trading Amazon shares makes sense, right? If you're using a screener that identifies, hey, this asset is now locked into this pattern that you have identified in your system that you want to enter shorts based on, that's fine, right? That's an argument for going crazy and trading all kinds of different assets because you kind of don't care what the underlying asset is as long as it's currently fitting a trade pattern that you subscribe to on a stock screener or a crypto screener, if that even exists, right? Just a pattern screener. But outside of that, you really should be sticking in your lane and trading things based on a confluence of fundamentals and technicals. Okay. So I think I've kind of reached the end of my road with that, but hopefully that was useful for somebody. This is not an argument against diversification. It is good to diversify, right? I'm not saying if you aren't looking at the price of gold and understanding the different supply dynamics of gold that you shouldn't diversify into gold. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't try to make swing trades in an industry you don't understand. And I say that because I've experienced that 3 times. I've experienced it first with steel, I experienced it with natural gas, and I've also experienced it with cannabis. I tried to be in those lanes and I lost money, right? That's just my experience. Perhaps someone in the chat has had a different experience. They've dove into different industries and they made a bunch of money. That's great. Another industry that comes to mind is 3D printing. I actually broke even on 3D printing, and I actually lost the money that I lost in 3D printing because of a technical error. I bought when I should have sold, and then I lost internet, and then I couldn't sell, and I went down. But that was one of the early kindlings of my interest in trading was actually 3D printing. I got into it, loved the tech, right? The 3D printing companies were going crazy at the time, and I was trading DDD and XONE, which I don't think XONE is around anymore. But I made $300, right? I don't remember how much money it was. It was a lot. It was like 100% gain, and for a young buck, 18-year-old, that was a lot of money. And then I went to sell, and I accidentally hit buy. Whoa! And I had, I panicked, I freaked out, and then I was in my mom's classroom. She was a teacher, and I lost internet, and so I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember I broke about even with 3D printing trading, which is what I was doing. And again, an example of another industry would be good to invest in. Actually, 3D printing turned out to not be a good industry to invest in. Once you've done your research, right, and DCAing, not putting a bunch of money in at the same time. But then once you have invested, monitoring that, and you just have to be honest with yourself. Every time you enter a new industry, can you monitor it adequately? The case has been no. In the case for me for steel, in the case for me for cannabis, and in the case for me for natural gas. And it may not even be that you don't have the time to monitor it. For the case of natural gas, it was I didn't have the know-how. I thought that I was monitoring natural gas and that the price of natural gas was going to move based on what I was perceiving supply and demand to be. I was trading it based off the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, right? I thought, oh man, the Europeans are going to need natural gas. What I didn't understand is that there's 2 different prices. There was a US price and there was a European price. So while I was waiting for natural gas prices to go up, they weren't, because I was trading natural gas prices in the US, which were pretty much unchanged and actually coming down. So you have to be aware. You have to really know. And until your predictions in the asset that you're trading are coming true again and again and again, you want to be very careful getting into new industries. So again, I think the heart of the story here is trade crypto, guys. Find a token like CAS, like Crypto Billy found, and just trade it. It doesn't mean you have to be in a trade all the time, but you're going to start to understand the rhythm of it, and you're going to start to see what dynamics really really affect the price. Biomex said T-Shroom for SEC chairman. Yes. Man, I can't agree with that more. I would make a great chairman because on day one, I would close down the whole SEC, and I would say we're done with securities. Everything is now a tokenized coin. All right. Bedridden said, I feel better about my trades now, T-Shroom. Good. Justin Eubank said, yo, T-Shroom, let's go. And then Crypto420 said, OLA. but it is way past 6:30, so I'm no longer going to be doing any more. But guys, I really appreciate you checking in and making it happen here in the chat. Guys, it's been a real pleasure. This has been a T-Shroom solo edition of Tactical Trades, even better. Tactical Trades. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It has been a pleasure. And tomorrow morning, who do we got? Who do we got coming on the channel? None other than Caleb Franson. I need to get my beauty sleep here in Florida so that I can be bright, shiny, bushy-tailed, and blue-eyed, ready for that interview with Caleb, because we need to get to the bottom of what the heck to do with this economy. I actually sold some stock today in preparation for some movement to the downside. Piper has been in my ear, bearish as heck, and a lot of folks have been too. But as far as I can tell from his Twitter, Caleb has remained pretty bullish, and it's going to be really interesting to see what his perspective is, especially also getting Tim coming back on the show in the morning. We're going to see, maybe if his thoughts have developed at all. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. 45 minutes of tactical trades. It's been a pleasure. I love doing it. We got to get some cool trip downs memory lane, and we looked at some new crypto CAS, and we've had a lot of fun. T-Shroom out.